Well, right off the bat, the first thing I want to do is say a very I'm sorry, an apologia, a bit of contrition, if you will. Let me expiate this complete technical snafu today. I was going to go live for a YouTube live thing, but it was, believe it or not, a lot of stuff. Emergencies, legal matters, client-related, typical Sunday, mi dispiace, that will be rescheduled again. So if anybody wasted their time, I believe me, I apologize immensely for that. But I want to tell you what happened with this afternoon, which I thought was absolutely amazing and worth note. I sat, as did many people, waiting for 2 o'clock Eastern time to come, which would have been the 8 o'clock, I guess, or the end, the closing of the polls in France, in Paris, for the French elections. And as I was watching France 24, I'm seeing the countdown, 45, 30, and I thought, okay, they're going to just signal the end of the polls, or the closing of the polls. That. Instead, at 0, boom, there's a picture of Macron with 69 or whatever percent. Anyway, the exact number, no wolf blitzers saying we're waiting for the exit polls in Wyoming. We're not sure, undisclosed, we're projecting. Bam! They had the number. How is that? How did that happen? How did they do that and we didn't? How does this work? That's number one. How? Why do they have elections on Sunday and we don't? I know it's a religion blue law thing, but why is it that we don't go out of our way to make voting easier? Why did that happen? I was just still stunned, still just nonplussed by the efficiency, the French psephological electoral efficiency that we were able to see, which was just mind-boggling. So, way to go, France. Way to go, France. I mean that sincerely, okay? That's number one. Now, number two, and this is important to know. What does this mean? In watching a number of these polls and conversational systems, you know, these not chat rooms, but threads and blogs and the usual routine. The reaction seemed to be, and sure enough, what difference does it make? That's France. So what? And if you don't understand this, there's nothing I can do to help you. What this was basically Trump and Marine Le Pen versus Obama. Not Hillary Clinton, because there is no Hillary Clinton. There was no Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is not, she's like the place sitter. You know, when you know, sometimes you probably didn't know this, but whenever they have these awards programs and the Oscars or the whatever it is, Tonys or Emmys or what have you, in the front where the stars sit, in case somebody gets up and goes to the John, or gets up and leaves, and because a lot of the activity, a lot of these folks leave, they have these professional sitters, these place sitters that come in and basically sit down so that there are no seats empty at any time to obscure or to affect the visuals. Okay. What is fascinating to me, and what I thought was interesting, even more so, was the fact that there was, in essence, Hillary was this person, this seat filler. She was not a real choice. She was somebody who was going to be basically the extension of Obama and the continuation of neoliberal, globalist, whatever you want to call it, you know, the Wall Street shield and warmonger, and that was it. That was going to be her involvement in this. That was it. She was not, there was no Hillary Clinton. message or platform. So what France was really looking at Trump versus Barack Obama, because Emmanuel Macron is really Obama. Okay. What's also interesting to note is that whenever you see something, and this is somewhat axiomatic, and it was said recently, and it reminded me of a very interesting truth. When you have an election that is about somebody, when something is about Trump, when this election was, are you for Trump or against Trump? Are you voting for him or against him? George Bush, are you voting for Bush or against Bush? Or when it's that versus any indication of the parties involved, normally the person that is the subject of the election, they will win. So in the last election, what happened was, which was interesting to note, was our election, it was always, are you for Trump or against Trump? Trump won. Hillary Clinton was not even mentioned in this. But in this case, it was a real dynamic, a real split between, and that's why I thought this is a little variation of that, because this was all about Le Pen. This was all about Le Pen and whether she was, and again, I'm, an American over here, and I'm not, there in front and center. But what I noticed, and what was incredible and what was important to note, is how this was really an even Steven kind of, from what I've seen, discussion of both parties. That's number one. And number two, the last minute hack or leak had nothing to do whatsoever in affecting his election. Unlike Hillary. Hillary claimed she was hacked and she lost. Macron was hacked or leaked and he was a landslide victory. That's number one. Number two, this is about something which is fascinating. Let me explain something to you right now. And that is, I'm going to fill you in on something that a lot of people do. People in the media, especially people who are paid by the moment, by the minute, by the word. No matter where you watch, no matter what show you look to, it is, political analyses are about the person giving the analysis versus the correctness or legitimacy or accuracy of that which is stated. Let me repeat that in English this time. When you see somebody on TV and they're trying to explain to you what things mean, they're trying to give you the David Axelrod version of it, the Charles Krauthammer, whoever the particular person you want to look to. And it's very rare that I even pay attention to these people, but it's their chance to say, here's my psychoanalytic look. Here's my take. Not that it's accurate or not, but it's about me. Because we don't care whether you're accurate or not. Are you a good explainer? Are you a good predictor? Are you a good person on TV? Do you come up with things that say, wow, that's pretty good. That's kind of interesting. When Pat Cadell is on, when Bill Kristol, or just name the person. It's about them. What does that mean? That means that nobody can ever tell you, we don't know why people vote. We cannot tell you why people do things and why something happened. We can't really do it because it is so complicated. You know when starlings fly, these big like schools of fish, but they're birds. It's called a murmuration. And the murmuration are these big, these swaths of birds that fly. And each of them are individuals, but they seem to follow this collective. Who's leading the pack? Who's following whom? There's got to be one bird that says, or a couple of them, a committee, we're going to go this way, because if each bird flew in a different direction, you wouldn't have these flying ink blots that you see in the sky. And that's kind of the way people vote. And for you to even suggest that you can name something that is so accepted as true among a group of people is I hate to say it, and I'm trying to do it right now because I'm violating my own rule by telling you that I'm giving you an opinion, and I want you to like my opinion so that you come back and listen to me give you my opinion versus analyzing and telling you why people do what they do. Does that make any sense? All right. If it doesn't matter, don't worry. The reason why people vote are so fascinating. And they're so different. And they're so... I don't care where you are. Let's just take here, for example. Here are the people who voted for reasons. The Trump voter. The Le Pen voter. Conservative? Maybe. They call Le Pen right-wing. She's a right-wing. Right-wing. She does not like. She views borders that are being breached. She views, for lack of a better word, invasions. People who are, entering France and who are committing crimes, and maybe because they're dark, or maybe they're Asian, Arab or Asian, whatever. But there's a group of people that just don't like that. They don't like it for a variety of reasons. They go nuts over what they consider to be swarms and swaths of immigrants. And yet other people don't have that reaction. Other people, younger people, sometimes, people who are for Macron, because he basically, if Marine Le Pen basically said, I want to keep France. I love when she said that. It was interesting. And that sometimes like, oh my God, she's got to phrase this better. She is like an eloquent Trump. Trump couldn't. He's not as, I don't want to say as bright. That's not fair. But he's not as smooth as she is. But she spoke to this idea that we have to do something to keep these people away and out and away from us and out of here. And we've got to be safe from these people. And not only that, they're affecting our culture. We're becoming awash in this Islamic dilution of who we are, and that's a problem, and oh my God, and it hit a nerve with so many people. That's one thing. And depending upon where you are in this country, and depending upon if you're in a state where you see this, there are other people, especially in Texas in particular. Wow, you mentioned these people, you mentioned these names, you mentioned these subjects, you mentioned immigration and Mexican in particular, and it is top of mind awareness. So that's one group of people that she obviously spoke to. Plus, she is, how do I say this? There is this thing about this versus this. Macron was this. It's not a real, this. Defense, military, law and order. Now, you say that, and people say automatically, "Oh, that's that right wing." Is it really? Security is right wing. Safety is right wing. I don't understand it. The notion of the typical progressive today, the annoying and sometimes noisome left, is a person who's afraid of somebody saying something that hurts. They're tough on speech. Don't say that. That's hate speech. That's shaming. That's wrong. Stop. Don't say that. Don't ban that hijab. Don't accept. Now, you can say to yourself, wait a minute. The left they're saying this about tolerance. Yeah, that's the idea. Tolerance. And if you're not tolerant, we'll get you. You know, it's weird. We're intolerant against intolerance. We don't tolerate intolerance. So the left has this sense of law and order too, with what they consider to be law and order, what they're considered to be, you know, the right. There is no such thing as gender and bathrooms. Don't you dare discriminate against bathrooms and genders and transgenders and you know, okay, whatever. So the feeling of passion about a particular sense of order is across the board, depending upon what it is. So when you say that Marine Le Pen is right-wing, I submit that Macron is right-wing because he has his sense of absolutes regarding a subject matter that we just, for the sake of convention, we say this subject matter is left and this subject matter is right. And hear that? Cruise ship. What we miss, the point that we miss repeatedly, is that we have these rules. We have these rules that we just call things. And I'm telling you, this left and right business is a joke. Marine Le Pen spoke to something which has been denoted as hateful and intolerant, and I respectfully submit, no, it is not. No, it is not. You can't say that. And there's something about this idea that, and you never can get away from this. I don't care who you are. I don't care what country you're from. We are a kind of a veneer-focused group of people. When you have this 48-year-old woman versus the young guy, the young dude, that's Kennedy did it. It was Obama. Don't kid yourself for a moment. Looks, youth, style, whether his wife is 65, I don't give a damn about that, but I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting. And don't think for a moment that all that did not benefit a lot of older women who said, you know what, this guy, not only is he young, but apparently he's very smart because he recognizes the inherent beauty of an older woman and blah, 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 blah. That is a physical too, but that is a personality and sociological component that people give short shrift to. They don't think it's important. You better believe it's important. I guarantee you, looks. You don't think looks are important? Look how many people focus on Trump's hair, his skin color, his hands, the circles around his eyes where he gets tanned, his we talks, and I mean, we are so looks conscious in this country. What they look like, how they, if they're fat or, I mean, it's so that's a component also. That is a component. I also was very, very impressed with how the level of, the level of focus on issues. I was watching a lot of across the board French media referencing and the like, and I was very, very impressed and very, very interested in listening to how they spoke and how they were issue oriented. Even to this day, even now, post-election, we don't talk about issues in this country. We talk about whether Trump is crazy, whether he tweets too much, whether he has the right temperament, whether he is smart. The New Yorker, the vaunted New Yorker, actually does a series of treatises and disquisitions on his psychological and psychiatric wherewithal. Now, how could you do that? This is where we are. So we can learn a lot from them. Not to mention their incredible sense of how they came up with these reactions and these results so fast made my head spin. But what's important to note also, and what is so critical to note, and I mean this, is that there is more always to elections than focus. There was something else which is bigger, which I don't think anybody here is, I should say this, few people here get. And that is the notion of globalism, what Brexit means, even though this is France, but how the idea of you losing your individual sovereignty and your individual identity and your individual focus and direction of progress and transition when you involve yourself in the European Union, larger jurisdictional organizations and the like, when you lose individual currency, when they went from the pound, well, the E was different, Brit state on that, but the euro, but from the franc to the euro, or the Deutschmark to the whatever, when you lose, when you're subsumed, when you're enveloped in this new kind of an organizational superstructure called a union, the European Union, North American Union, Asian Union, African Union, whatever you want to call it, you lose identity and you lose jurisdiction and you lose the ability to control. And that's the hallmark, one of the hallmarks of a globalist shill, a guy from Rothschild, a guy who's a bankster, a big-time global. I mean, he is an Obama guy. He is what we would call a Goldman Sachs, Wall Streeter, like you cannot believe. That's what this was about. Watch neoliberalism. Watch it rear its ugly head again. Because remember what we said about liberalism. Liberalism is the most fantastic thing. Remember Bruce Lee when he gave those great speeches on karate or whatever it was he did? He goes, be water. A water can fill a glass. When you pour it, becomes the glass. It becomes the teapot, the tea kettle, the cup of tea, the tea. Be water, my friend. It becomes anything you want. Water, it'll either crash you, smash you, drown you, destroy you, but it becomes, well, liberalism is like that too. Individual liberalism, I can do whatever I want, I can be what I want, I can think what I want. Corporate liberalism, get off my back, let me be free, lose regulation, lose control. That's neoliberalism. And then, of course, in the middle, you could talk about leave me alone. You could say leave me alone with taxes, leave me alone with this. It's kind of like a libertarian argument. See, everything, if you think about it, is a form of classic liberalism, one way or another, because there's two things that combine or comprise every political ideology or philosophy: what you want and what you don't want. I want this and I don't want that. So the bottom line is simply this. We are seeing right now, remember, Germany's coming up next. Keep an eye on that one. And as we become more and more universal, more so than ever because of social media and the like, it's important for us to understand the psephology, the study of the elections itself, with the psychology and the sociology and the behavioral aspects of elections. Why elections work. And they work, I really should say not why they work, but how they work. They work based upon attacking and dealing with and addressing a series of fundamental human emotions that disguise themselves as well thought and well, how do I say this, crafted, designed, thought, ideologies and the like. This is fascinating. Marine Le Pen is not going anywhere. Watch Macron and watch right now watch immigration and watch what happens. And let's find out also, how did they get the results so fast? That still amazes me. How did they get the results so fast? And why can't we have this system? And why can't we vote on the weekends too? Why can't we make voting, whatever it's worth, a little bit easier? Okay? So thank you. Again, apologies to anybody who stood by and waited for that. YouTube, it was a mess today, a complete mess. I can't go into detail why it was, but trust me, it was. I thank you for this. Thank you also for kindly buying so many of these great products. The mugs, the t-shirts, the flasks, the dog vest. Go below and you can see right now all of my little information on how you can get this. Thank you for this. Like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel. Send it to others. And now you may comment as you deem and see fit.